Hey, somebody.
What up, though, somebody?
Welcome to Build for This Kingdom Marriage. I'm Jazz.
And I'm RJ. Here we discuss kingdom marriage, dating to marry, also growth and healing.
Our hope is that we all come to a clear understanding of God's will regarding love and relationships, aka marriage. Thanks for watching. Welcome back. Hey, brothers and sisters, let's talk about a conversation or a question that goes viral a lot. I ain't gonna say go viral, but people talk about it a lot and they argue on they're arguing or having the differences of why a person is saying the way they would choose. So the question is, I guess just plainly, who would you choose? Now the conversation though that I'm talking about is in a matter of, let's say, a fire, or a matter of life or unalive, right? Because I don't want to say that word. Life or unalive. I would say who you choose first. Who are you saving? That's what I would say. Who would you save? Are you choosing your spouse, your wife, or your husband, or are you choosing your children? Or are you choosing your mom and dad? Like, who are you choosing, right? And if you guys follow us, I'm sure you know. If you've been following along all this time, I'm sure you guys probably know our answer. But babe, who would you choose in a life or unliving event, in a fire, rescuing? Who would you choose?
I choose my spouse.
Okay. And the same thing. So if in a fire, I'm going to put my husband out first. Then I'm going to go for my children and whomever else. So it's going to be my husband, then it's going to be my children, and then the other family members, if you will, or the other people. And that is like I said, this isn't a case of when this conversation is being had, who would you choose? The reason that my answer is my husband is because me and my husband are in a marriage. Marriage is a covenant. So that means as husband and wife, we made a covenant. We became together, or we come together as one. That is my other half. I was created out of his rib. We go together, as people say. We go together. That is the partnership. That is the covenant. That was the vows. That is who. Right? So that is who I'm choosing. Now, when you get into the conversation, when people be like, well, why would you choose? And you tell them, then it's combative with.
It's a battle between the spirit, understanding the whole thing when it comes to spiritual versus the flesh. And
I say what God said versus what we want.
What God said versus what we want. And the one thing that we have to understand and realize is that, when you're in a marriage, you created a covenant between man and wife, and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's a covenant or whatever that you guys, have came together or agreement on. When God bless you guys with kids, and I'm gonna stop right there. Think about how old, who was it, Abraham, and when they was finally ready to conceive kids. And also when Esau and Jacob was born, I think they was like 60 something or whatever. So what I'm getting is that that's a blessing from God. Now, I'm not saying in a situation when it comes to a fire that you're just gonna be like, oh no, forget them kids. Right. You're going to go fight and go get them kids. But if the kids, Lord forbids, shall perish in that fire, God will always bring you a son or a daughter, not to replace, right, but for you to build that child up in a righteous upbringing way.
And how I look at it is like, I don't know why I'm seeing a tree and how the tree falls. We're supposed to be, first come love, then come marriage, then come children. So we know, I X that out. In scripture, the man and the wife were first. their offspring, be fruitful, multiply, the children came under. That comes under. So when we think of the order of the house, the submission order or the order of the house, it's the husband, then the wife, and then the children. The children would not exist without husband and wife. Again, we, husband and wife, came together. We are the covenant. You have to also remember too, when your kids get older, they're leaving out to go marry and become one with their spouse. So when you ask this question to your children, maybe we should ask our kids, because I asked my child and he was like, "Mom, no offense." I said, "I'm not offended. You're supposed to choose your wife. You better choose your wife. That is the family you made, created."
Ask him though.
I said, if there was a situation or a life-threatening situation, I said, where you had to choose between your spouse and your children, who would you choose? From there, I asked him, okay, if there was a house fire and me and your wife was in the house fire, me and your kids, because I was watching them, whatever, was in the house fire, who are you saving? So his answer changed twice. And then he was like, "Oh, I understand." And I told him, like, "Well, you're a child now, so I get why you feel that way," because he was saying why he would have chose, and it's not good to know, but that was why I needed to have that conversation with my son, to let him know, no, you don't choose me, even though he said, "No offense, Mom." Like, but I'm choosing my wife. But in the other situation, or with the other choosing, he did say his child, because he said he don't know how he could live with taking the life of someone that hasn't lived life, I guess. Taking that from him is how he was viewing it, So let's get back to, because we can keep going on with that. It's not necessarily the matter of, oh, we can have more kids. We know that's true. My firm foundation is that me and my husband are one. Yes, you're going to mourn and grieve either way, right? But I am one with my husband. So this is why that is my choosing. I look at it too when people like, oh, unsaved life, or in the case of like pregnancy. And we kind of dealt with that. My husband we had a situation with my birth of my last son, and it came to a point where he had a thought in his mind. He had to say, who would I have chose? Who would I have saved? And we discussed that. And at the time I was kind of like, I don't agree, but I definitely understand and agree now. I get it now. I wasn't mad or anything, but I was just like, the way you choose, and I don't know. I feel a way about that. But then I did, what? What are you saying?
No, I was saying you was mad.
I wasn't mad. I didn't agree to. I said, why would you choose that way? And I don't think you gave me an answer.
No, you wasn't mad. You was more like,
why? Like, well, why though?
Yeah, you was more like, why though?
Or
but
I was saying, like, I don't think I would want you to. That's what I said. I don't think I would want you to make that decision.
But that's regardless of the fact, like, that was the decision that I made.
And I have to be okay with it.
And you was like, nah, I don't agree with it.
I don't agree with that. I wasn't mad, but I was just saying I don't agree with that, because I was
joking. You was bothered by it though.
We have to understand that. Now, this is what I wanted to say. You want to say something before I get into why I see? Because I was wondering, like, I'm always somewhere questioning or wondering, which is good, because I feel like that's how God deals with me and my thoughts. And I ask Him when I don't understand. I ask God, or I ask God to see it in a different perspective, other than what I think.
Just go ahead and say what you want to
say. So the reason I believe that people would say they would choose their children over their spouse is because of our bent way of thinking of what God says marriage is in the first place, or the taking serious of what Scripture says in the first place. Because why we should not be fornicating before marriage. Now, I'm not saying I didn't do that. We didn't do that. What I'm saying is the way that God ordered it, or have it prescribed for us, He has it that way for a reason. To take away all the hurt we go through, the trauma, all that pain unnecessarily, because we're not following the way that He says, right? So the reason that people would choose their children is because if first of all they're not taking marriage seriously, they want children over marriage, because that is a lot of I had children over marriage. I'd rather have children over marriage. I care more about my children than my spouse. Like, that's what we're living in. These are the times we live in. Plus, so not taking the seriousness of marriage, and then not taking it serious fornication, thinking it's a small thing. Oh, it's nothing. It's not that big of a deal. But look at the reward or the outcome of fornicating. We get pregnant, or we have babies out of wedlock. We're creating broken homes. When we decide we finally want to settle down, settle down meaning I'm gonna just get married because it just look like time, versus, okay, I want to get serious about this guy and I'm gonna follow you and see what you say and go into marriage that way. That's the difference, right? But this is why we have these outcomes. So now that you do get serious, and I'm just thinking about the children, like what happens after that, the eyes of, or how the children views it. So we're making broken homes, things like that, and it's unnecessary. Like, we didn't have to do that. I also believe, because I can keep going into that, on with that, I also believe people would choose their children, and I'm not saying what y'all would choose is wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm doing is viewing it from another perspective, right? Because I know we're firm on what we choose. We even talk to our children about it. They know, and we're telling them the same thing. As you an adult, this is the same choosings you should have. Do not save me. Do not save me, okay, over your wife. Do not save me over your children. That God gave you that, right? I lived. I had your dad. I'm good. If God says it's time to come home, I'm coming. No, but another reason I believe is because when we think, it's still on a bent way of thinking, a way of thinking that's going against what God said, or a way of thinking that we were born into or we were taught, right? Versus reading the scriptures and knowing what God said. So I believe that when we think of our children, we have this connection to our children, like I said, because we're having children out of wedlock. But then also we have children, and we take our children and think, and feel like we're protecting our children from the trauma and things that happen in our lives. Do that make sense? As a child.
Yeah.
So, example, or the reason I'm saying that, or where I'm getting that from, is if there was a house fire, you gonna be like, am I saving my mother or my children? I'm saving my children. It's gonna be automatic, right? It's always or I'm gonna save my children. So we're taking what we went through as children, and we're putting that on and feeling like, well, I have to protect my child or save my child because of my childhood, my upbringing, my past, what I went through, the traumas and all that. So I have to I'm going to save my child in that sense. I have more to say about that, but I'll stop there. So what I'm saying is, we place our children higher than what God said. We place our children higher than our marriage. We place our children higher than our spouse. We place our children higher than everything. And that is idolatry. That's an idol. That becomes an idol. That's the exact definition of idolatry. My kids. I'm living my life for my kids. Okay. I'm going to stop. Babe, you want to add?
No.
But okay. So those are reasons I believe that we've been so traumatized from hurt and past relationships. Now I'm talking about adulthood. Relationships with the opposite sex. We're hurt and traumatized from that so much that we're already going into whatever with a mindset of, my kids come first. Because you had to choose that in the past, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're not married and we're in relationships, and then now the person cheated on you, and you have to move on with you and your child, and you're still dealing with the hurt of the one not taking care of their child. So now your mind is already me and my child, or my child. So if you do come into a marriage and that stronghold way of thinking, that mindset is not knocked down, and you come up on that's a faulty foundation. But if you come up on the truth, and what it should be and what it is to be, you're still going to have that. That's still going to be your way of living.
Right.
So then in marriages, you got the spouses going against each other because you talking about, oh, the kids said, or what my children feel like, or what they, that's not, the children say and feelings should not be above husband and wife. Husband and wife makes the marriage. Husband and wife is the covenant. It's a difference too with being in a marriage and being husband and wife as well. Because a marriage is a marrying of the two. But husband and wife is the role, the protector, the provider, the leader, the wife, the church, the helpmeet. There's a difference. Because that could never come together, but y'all are married. Y'all married, y'all came together, but then husband and wife never came together. Do that make sense? Because we're not doing the roles of, we don't understand the roles of, we don't care the roles of, however the mind is working with that. Do you have reasons why you think people don't choose their spouse? That's the whole point of what I've been saying with these examples, why their spouse is not the priority, or they're like, no, without a doubt. No, I don't even gotta think about it. It's my children. Why do you think? Do you have any reason why you think that?
I mean, just to sum it up, what you said is just, the childhood neglect. Maybe they didn't have a father in their life. Maybe they didn't have a mother in their life. So just the childhood neglect.
And we're putting our place in the child. Like if I was a child, I would want my parent to save me. See, that's good. That's what I was trying to say. I don't know if it came across that way when I was explaining. We're taking on what we went through and placing
it did,
our children.
But it did. It was more in detail. I just pretty much just kept it simple.
Yeah, so we're trying to come into the mind of the child. What would your child's life be without? And that is what we have to think about. What is my child going to be like? Life be like? What is my life going to be like based off this decision? What would the child's life be like based off this decision? What would my spouse's life be? Well, the life would be gone if you choose it. Right, but you have to think of that. And it's not selfish to, I pray people don't feel selfish to say, what would my life be like if I chose this over my spouse? Mm-hmm. I pray you don't think that's selfish, because like I said, we are one. Me and my spouse are one. So now I'm a widow. Now you're a widower, a single mom, a single father. And as much as you want to feel and think that your child will look up to you, because this is what my son said. He said, I don't want them to praise me, but I would, when they grow up, I believe they will look up to me knowing that I chose them, is what he said. And he's young, so he was being honest. What we're saying is choose from, and okay, what did you say? How you said?
Choose from a spiritual, godly mindset of what God say, how it's supposed to go, and understand that their children are a gift. You can always have children. You can always have children. Not saying again, forget the kids. Mm-hmm. No, what I'm saying, you did everything that you can do. You tried. Yes, it's going to take time for you to come in peace with it.
Yet, or no, I'm just grieving. Yeah,
you're grieving. You're going to grieve.
You're going to mourn.
But know that gift that God gave you is sent right back up to him.
Come on. That's how I think of it too.
That's how I see it.
Like an unborn child is going to go back to heaven. Like they don't have to endure this worldly life. That was good. I like how you said that. But yeah, that's how we would choose. Nobody's saying change the way you choose to think. We're telling you how and why we're choosing the way we choose. Because we have the word as our guide, as our lead. We're living on foundational biblical truths. Like we're standing firm in that. And again, yeah, it'll be hard. Yeah, we're gonna mourn, but that is the decision. And it's good to have these conversations, because you don't want to be in the situation or the moment and then now you're in emotions and feelings. Like if you have a peace in knowing what it will be. Let us know in the comments.
Let us know what you would choose and why. So let us know and why. Again, we're not feedback. again, we're not saying, you know, this is what you should choose. This is what we
This is
feel, or
what we would be choosing.
what we know, come to know and
And
understand,
why.
and why.
Yeah.
But until then,
Yeah.
good people, you guys have a great, great, blessed day. I hope your daily bread be fulfilled. Love you guys. Until then, God bless.
God bless.